Good evening, folks. It's Airfix and Chill. So it must be Monday. Hope you've had a really good weekend. Thanks all in the chat who said hi to everybody and hi to us. We're all here. Special guest on tonight. We've got Dale, the head of brand from Airfix. Welcome along, Dale. Welcome along.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Really well, really well. Oh, and Alex has just popped in as well. But add Alex to Leo core. And what I'll do is I'll put you in the middle there, Dale, so we can see you better. There you are. Thanks for coming on tonight, Dale. Really appreciate it. I just noticed on the Airfix channel, you've dropped the video for the Jaguar, but we'll go into that a little bit later. I've got the video lined up to play anyway. We can talk about that. But I want to get you on really about vintage classics. When I do a video of a vintage classic and I talk about old kits, everybody says, "Oh, they need to release that, or they need to do." So I thought I'll get you on and just chat, just basically, say 15 minutes or so. If you've got any questions, also panel here, ask Dale away. Or vintage classic. What's the actual system of bringing one into a vintage classic range? Do you like go through the back catalogue and decide there was a year that you go to when you before that year we then released with a vintage classic? Because somebody pointed out, for instance, that you've released the JB models Land Rovers, which were pre Hornby, I think, as a normal box set, when really they were designed way before Hornby bought them. There's just one example. Or is it to do with how it was designed, whether it was before CAD or after CAD? What is the actual what can I say? I can't think of the word I'm thinking.
Where's the line?
Where's the line? The line in the sand.
So we used to say, and we still say, that the line, which is becoming a little bit more wavy, is anything that's designed pre-Hornby Hobbies acquiring the Airfix brand. So pre-2006, 2007 would be a vintage classic, and anything since then would be in a shiny red box, just what we call a classic kit. That was the line for the last few years. But even then, there's a few things that were designed pre-Hornby acquiring the brand, where the tools for the models are still very, very good. And so they don't really fit in either category. And some of them, we feel the best place for them is classic range. So you mentioned the JB tools. I'm not sure when they were designed, but obviously we bought them from JB many moons ago, and we bought them from JB under Hornby, and they're still really, really good models.
They are.
So we don't have any Roy Cross artwork for that stuff either, which is another tick in the box for vintage classics, which we can come on to in a minute about illustrations. So we've only ever released them with sort of digital-ish illustrations. Another consideration, if Roy Cross had artwork for them, then I guarantee you they would be sat in vintage classic range. So that's how they those ones sit in the Airfix classic camp, if you like. So there are a few other things that that if we were to release them now, we'd most probably, even though they were designed and released pre Hornby, we'd most probably put them in the classic range. The lifeboat, for example, the 7-class lifeboat, that's pre. That actually straddles both companies. There's a couple like that actually that straddle both. But we feel that the best place for that product at the moment is the classic kit range.
Because that was it. I think that was it. This is catalog 2005, and I think that was one of the last toolings before they went pop. And
it was never actually. So my understanding, it was never actually released under Humbrol. It was only ever released as Airfix Hornby. So the design was sort of picked up. Whether the design was fully if you've ever tried to build that, whether the design was ever fully completed or not before the tools were signed off, I couldn't tell you. But it does fight you a little bit, but it does make an absolutely amazing model if you battle with it. So there's a couple like that. And then there's obviously when we started to design product as Hornby, we'd only ever designed product with CAD, and that's another consideration as well. But even that, the early CAD models that we were designing as Hornby, that they really show their age now. But they would sit in the Airfix Classic range camp, not Vintage Classic. So
fair enough.
There's many tools that would clearly sit in the Vintage Classic range, but they've never had a painted illustration. Do you remember when Airfix went through that phase of taking photos of models on boxes?
Yeah, that was 1992 onwards, I think that was, wasn't it? I think about 92, 98.
82 onwards.
Don't know, but it absolutely shocking packaging. And
actually, tell a lie, it was before then, because I've got a catalogue here from 1987, sorry, yeah, it's a bit earlier, so you can see there, these are all the pictures on the...
Yeah, so what would we don't know what we would do with that stuff right now.
No.
And we've not had to ask ourselves that question up until now. So that gives you an idea of anything that's been released during that time that has never had an illustration. We're sort of sat in the office at the moment, Matt and I, going, what do we, and Clint actually, our researcher, what do we do with that? Do we go and get a digital illustration done, but it sits in a Vintage Classic box? That doesn't, those two things would sort of fight each other slightly. We're certainly not going to take a photo of the model and put it on the box front, although those that remember those old box days will know what we've done. Or do we go and get a painting done, or digital painting done that would be in, I'm going to say, Roy Cross styly. I think we all know what that means. God bless him. But but then if we did that, then you sort of lose the nostalgia element, because it would be a brand new illustration that no one ever saw in Woolworths when you were going down there with your pocket money to go and buy an Airfix kit. So it's a bit of an odd one.
On the other hand, it would keep the spirit alive.
Yeah.
If it was a new old illustration
in the same style, that would keep a spirit alive as well in the Vintage Classic range.
Yeah. I think we're leaning more towards that than anything.
Interesting. I did notice, I'm just thinking through the catalogue now, and there's quite a lot of drawings there. You can see that there's artistic representations of the kits. I don't think they were released under that box art, because that 1987 they were just pictures, weren't they? Even on the front cover, there's no actual pictures or photographs of the model. They're all artistic representation. So maybe that was when they did the changeover. I don't know. But it's a good problem to have, though, Dale, isn't it? It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's just more considerations. There's definitely product there that we would like to put back into the Vintage Classic range that have never had an illustration at all. As I said, Clint, Matt, and I are currently trying to work out the best way of bringing some of those things back.
Yeah. On the when you released the Bond Bug, you said you had to re-engineer the glass for that tooling.
Yep.
Now, the release of the Belvedere 197, the glass in that is a shockingly poor fit. Would you have considered retooling that glass for that particular model to make the model buildable? Because that is the main issue with that Belvedere was the glass. It didn't fit. Is that the sort of thing you talk about when you release these as Vintage Classics?
We do, yeah. So where possible, we always get, well, it's always possible. It's just timing, really. So we always go and get test runs of all the tools done before we, ideally before we've put it in the catalogue and announced that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's gone in the catalogue yet where we've then decided to pull it because the quality hasn't been good enough. But there may be a day, hopefully not. But in hindsight, we probably should have gone off and redone those clear parts. The bomb bug was very different, so it was rumoured that the bomb bug tools had all been lost, which is why it's never been released since 75, I think. I think it was first released in 74 and then last seen in 75 off the top of my head. And but by some strange miracle, the main plastic tool was found, but the clear parts weren't. And I believe that one was a common clear tool. So you have a big lump of steel, and then there's a part in the centre that is just common to loads of bits. So you can see how these little bits of steel go missing. So basically, we re-engineered it. Matt did that, I believe, off the top of my head. So we managed to source an original 74 bomb bug, and then 3D scan the clear parts and reverse engineer it, and then tool it up. There's been others. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but there's been others where we've been able to prove that our manufacturers lost the tools, so they've paid for them. But the process.
You didn't buy one of those bomb bugs off eBay for £600, did you?
I don't think we bought it, actually. I think someone lent it to us. So no, we didn't.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So that would be
I would have never got any money back on that release. It hardly made us any money anyway. So but that wasn't really your fault, though, was it? That was just pure bad luck, wasn't it? That bomb bug. Well, the short shot on that was very bad luck that it short shotted across that sort of parcel shelf point. That, I mean, I wouldn't have known that was short shot. If you just looked at the parts, most people can see short shots because it's a chunk out of the wing or the tail or something like that. It's obvious because you're comparing two halves or something. But when you short shot across a line, that it should have been picked up ultimately. It's a shame that it wasn't. But we did mould a ton of parts that were given to us free, obviously. Why would we pay for those? But ultimately, we still had to pay for all the postage to go out for those spare parts, which is wouldn't have been much more than the or less rather than the profit we would have made on the original release of the kit. So it swings and roundabouts. We learnt from that one massively. So and that was, I think, on that particular year, that was our biggest pre-order by unit product across everything. But I think, what did it retail for? Like 8, 9, 10 quid or something like 12 quid.
It was the bottom end,
So by the time you take your trade off of that, and then everyone else is cut, then but anyway, it's what
it was. And there's people that have got them in their stash, unless they actually open the box, they don't want to. They wouldn't know whether they got a short shot or not. The only reason we found, it was actually Gary's stuff when he was building it. He then said, while I was building it, there was a short shot on it. So once you actually built it and you realised that the glass wasn't going to fit proper, that was when you saw that short shot where the parcel shelf basically was missing. So it was tragic, but it's
the key things with that is that we deal with them as quickly as possible. So most people understand that these things happen, so they're relatively happy to wait until we can get the parts over. Our supplier was very quick at turning around the bits that we needed. Then our spares team are great in being able to log and then process those parts as well. So everything fell into place, but it was just unfortunate that it happened that way.
Yeah. Have you got like a book or like a spreadsheet of where all the tools are, or is there quite a few that's actually missing from?
If Matt's watching this, then we are currently in the process of trying to pull several documents together. and do physical checks. So that is by no means a small task at all. And during Airfix's history, some products have been recoded, so they've got different series numbers or different part numbers altogether. You know, it may have come out originally as a Series 1 kit, you know, A01. Later in its life, it was A02. Matt found a product that's been sat in our warehouse. That anyone that's been to our warehouse, Moz, you would have walked past it, but we thought the tool was lost. But it's because the number on the side of the tool is the original part number, and no one was looking for that. Everyone was looking for the last part number.
Yeah.
So you have to really dig into some things. There's some vintage classics releases over the last. There's one this year, one last year that had changed part numbers during its life, and you know, I'm there. We have a document called the line plan, which is basically our catalogue Excel sheet, but it's everything live and some things that are obsolete. But it's got all our prices in volumes, absolutely everything. And so I'm there at the last minute changing part numbers back to what they should be originally. Of course, it has a knock-on effect with other bits and pieces. So, it's not the list is not as complete as it should be, unfortunately. Yeah. Which means when we're currently finalising next year's range, as you know, because I keep asking you loads of questions. But so now is a really good time to throw in your suggestions for next year's product range. Not new tools, but just reissues. So the first part of that is obviously to pull the range together, list a load of stuff out that perhaps hasn't been seen before, or the product life cycle is starting to dip off, or whatever it is. The next part is to then try and find the tools.
I get that.
And obviously we then look. At the same time we look at a list of tools that we know that we've got somewhere in the world. So we sort of try and join them all up.
That's brilliant. The other, going on that same sort of vein. Then, are you when you think about doing the next vintage classic? Are you looking at other things outside the box, like what they're going for on eBay? Because some of the pricing on eBay for some of these kits is astronomical, really. And I don't know why you don't think, well, if it's going for that price, if that bomb bug, say, went for 325 quid, I would have retooled that anyway, just for the crack, like, you know what I mean? Because it was a rare kit. Is there any sort of tools that you are missing that you've considered retooling for this generation?
There are things that we know are missing. I'm not prepared to say what they are at the moment. There's classic things that we absolutely would have brought back. SAM missiles, pre-Enterprise. There's those classic kits, but are they iconic because everyone knows the tools are missing? I don't know. But there are certainly things that we would love to put back out in the range, but we at the moment we can't. And tools go missing for loads of different reasons. So Airfix has had a very rich history of ownership, should I say, and production locations as well, and that has a huge factor in all of this. So Type 45. The last pre-Hornby, it was owned by Humbrol in Hull, whose the parent company also owned Hilaire in France, and production, the majority of production was done in France. So when Hornby acquired the brand, then we sent a load of people out to France to try and gather as many of our tools basically back as possible. That was, by all accounts, quite interesting due to French employment law. You can't just go in there and take all the molds out, because you're essentially making people redundant because they can't make anything. So that was a bit tricky, I was told. But they got as much as they possibly could out of the site at the time, and then shipped it down to China, or the majority of it down to China, to start building a range, to start making money. Spend 6-7 million buying the brands, and then you can't make product. So that was the priority. we've sent
Well,
them new out of China. So
yeah,
you know, have things then been left in China? Absolutely, you know, terrible that they would have done, may have done. But because production hasn't moved for an awful long time now, some things have moved around, but the bulk of production hasn't moved. If we know that we've made it in India, then the high probability is the tool is still in India, and that's quite useful to know actually. So,
yeah. Well, I was going to say the irony is that you're releasing the Jaguar, which we'll talk about later, again in 148, but the original Airfix tooling of the Jaguar is being re-released by Hella this year. That's your tool, really. It was an Airfix tool, which
it was released last year, Moss. I've got 2 in the shop.
Oh, did that? Well, last year, wasn't it? Yeah, last year. Sorry.
They got that one in the divorce. So which is there's other things that we got. There's models where they have half the tools and we have half the tools, bizarrely. So we know the people that run Helle, the company called Gloteby. They're a huge German model kit distributor, and they distribute Airfix product in Germany and some other European countries. So we've worked with them for an awful long time. So we're very friendly with each other. I bumped into Heinz, who's one of the main guys there. He was walking around Telford this year, last year, and we had a little bit of a chuckle about the 48 scale. No, he didn't know about the Jaguar at the time. But yeah, we did have a bit of a chuckle about a few things. But
I bet. But no, it's one of them, isn't it? You know, when the company, shame we didn't get the Peugeot 205 and things like that, because they were good cars. Like, I remember building them back in the day. But yeah. Any other questions on Vintage Classics, folks? Have you got anything? What about you, Alex? Was it Vintage Classic Birds? How about bringing
Birds
the
and
birds back?
dinosaurs?
Birds and dinosaurs.
Yeah. I'd love to bring some of those back. Actually, we did a bit of a hunt for the birds a little while ago, but we found some of the tools, but not all of them. So trouble is, I think the ideal market for birds now, the product isn't suited for them. So you guys would be you'd knock the birds out and do an amazing job, I'm sure. But I'd want to put the birds in front of newbies to the hobby, and to get them located into national high street retailers and places like that. So you start to think about your target audience for that product is different. Well, maybe it's not different now, but is the product best suited for your now intended target audience? Then most probably not. But that wouldn't stop me releasing them in some form as and when. But
What about the historical figures?
Well, so I don't think I'd try and target a new to the hobby demographic with those. But I'd love to put them back in. I think they're doing a nice little run. Actually, is Vintage Classic.
Yeah. Just going on about runs, I've been telling people on the videos when I do the Vintage Classic reviews that they're limited. You won't see them released again. Have you got like a time limit on when you release them again, or is it a case of once they've been released, that's it? It's like it's last hurrah. Because I kind of said this a few times to people. That I look at the Vintage Classic as a bit of a hall of fame. These are kits that were really back in the in the 60s and 70s were the jewel in the crown of Airfix when we were first getting into scale modeling. And for me to have that one last release, but then, for instance, like the Bomb Bug, you invested in the tooling. Would that be something you would consider releasing again, say in 7 or 8 years' time, or is it something that's once done, that's it, finish, the tooling's done?
No, so we will never say the tooling is done, unless it is so shockingly bad that we should never have put it out in the first place. So there might be a couple of things like that over the last few years that we've gone, no, actually, this is most probably its last hurrah. and especially we run on like a 3-year new tool plan because we have to, and so if we are already planning for a new tool version of something that we've got an old tool of, then at that point we know that it's its last hurrah. But most things will come back. And what you said about limited runs, they are, everything's limited runs really, but vintage classics, we deal with them slightly differently. So we get a forecast in of what we think we're going to sell over 12 months, and we buy to that of most things. Sometimes we overbuy. We've been doing more overbuying actually in recent months for Airfix. But the bomb bug, for example, will come back. There's no doubt about that. But will it come back in the next 5 years? No. What we said originally with vintage classics, that everything will be on like a 10-year cycle.
Yeah.
And I think that's most probably enough time for it to become desirable again. The Hawker P1127, so we brought in a 12-month forecast of that. I know Alex had some of these on order. We brought a 12-month forecast of that in. The week that they landed, they were gone, and that was a 12-month forecast. And there's no way of predicting that at all. By the time you know that you've sold out, the container is already on its way. So we'd already made a decision to buy one last container load, which is a lot of those kits, by the way, because they're only that big, and that is. I can't remember if it's just landed or it's just about to land. I saw it on a list the other day. I can't remember, but and then that'll be it. That you won't see that kit for many years now. So it's a shame that we were just chasing our tail with that one. And there's a few others like that we'll do another run of. But equally, there's some things that will oversell in trade, but we will just not to run it again purely because I don't want to flood the market with it. And if you look, at our recent sales, for example, very little of that is vintage classics.
Okay, because I was going to say, the vintage classic is a very profitable arm of Airfix, isn't it, or Hornby as a whole? Is that right?
The Airfix brand is very profitable.
Yeah, but I remember when people were saying, "Oh, vintage classics is money for old rope." You wouldn't do it unless you're going to make money from it. Obviously, it's not there for nostalgia, but there is a nostalgia. The thing, this is what I keep saying to people when they diss people about collecting kits and stuff, because I build and I collect. Nostalgia is a very powerful emotive, and the beauty for me for the vintage classics. See, I was born in '79, and there's 8 or 9 kits that I remember seeing on a shelf, but never built because either they were too expensive as a child. Or when I've seen them outside outside of that decade, the decals have been foobarred. So for me, the quality of the vintage classic is the fact you're getting a Cartograph decal sheet with it, so you can build those kits. People say oh, they're old, but I collect in this nostalgia of things that I've not ever built before, and I have the chance to. And even though I may have that kit in my collection, I know for a fact that decal sheet will be knackered. You can't use it; it'll probably go to powder. So for me, the monetary value of that kit mostly isn't the plastic; it's that decal sheet. And it's even better than what's actually in the vintage, in that kit from when it was produced in the 70s.
I've seen where people have said, there's no tooling to pay for on vintage classics, and that's partly true. So we still have to ship a tool to production. So we still have to pay someone to do the box art, not illustration necessarily. Although going back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, we will have to start paying someone to do an illustration, which can be a lot of money. We still have to pay someone to redraw or certainly make better the instruction manuals. We pay someone to redo all the decals. We don't just have old decal artwork that we rerun. We will go and pay someone to redo all of that. So there's still there's still quite a bit of cost actually to re-releasing one of those that people forget about. Now you don't have a 50 grand invoice for a lump of steel for a mold, granted, but you've still got hundreds, thousands of pounds there to release anything, sadly. But and we amortize our tools over 3 years, so targeted with getting as much as selling as many units of that design, that tool, not necessarily single design over 3 years. So you may have noticed over the last few years we've been burning through variants of things quite quickly, whereas prior to that it was a little bit slower. So yeah,
all good for Airfix, definitely. Got a couple of questions here about vintage classics. This is a good one. Is there any vintage classic kit that you would like to release but not able to due to not having the tools anymore? I know you said the Sam's missile and the Free Enterprise. By the way, folks, the Free Enterprise is not the one that capsized in France. All right, it's the Free Enterprise was the ship before that one sank. Okay. I've had a few people query that with me, saying, "Oh, they won't release that because people died on it." And no, that was Townsend Torring, I think it was, or something like that. It was called Enterprise, wasn't it?
It's called Free Enterprise.
Yeah. So it's not that one. This is the tooling previous. That was the original Enterprise. Okay.
I was meant to be on the one that capsized.
Were you?
Yeah.
Crumbs. Oh dear.
As a Hully. Yeah. Coming back from Germany as a little lad.
Yeah. That would be unpleasant.
No.
It wasn't.
Who owns the Roy Cross artwork? Is it his estate or is it Airfix? I'd love a large print of the B-17.
Yeah, so we own the. It's quite interesting, this one, and I'm most probably going to get this wrong, so I shouldn't say anything. But so essentially, we own the copyright, the usage of it.
Okay.
Although we still have to be careful because a B-17 is obviously Boeing, so we can't just go and use it and get money from it. We would have to ask Boeing very nicely if they're happy for us to do something with it. But I understand that someone in his family was selling off originals and stuff, which this again, that agreement was signed many moons ago by not even the last company that owned Airfix. So good luck trying to ever fight that one. But if a Roy Cross illustration that was done for Airfix even back in the day found its way onto the front cover of a book or something, then that's when our licensing people then kick into gear.
Fair enough.
The images that are made in opdracht, a commissioned illustration for a kit, for instance, that you can reuse that one. But he's made so many illustrations. I just posted the link up to the website from the family as well. They own the estate now owns the rest of the copyright of the rest of the images, basically. So you would have to go to them anyway if you wanted to have an article for that one or a print. Maybe you could order them via them if you really want to.
We do talk about. Sorry, Dirk. We do talk about doing prints of the artwork that we own. It's a bit of a catch-22. I don't want to put a load of stock of prints in the warehouse.
No, exactly.
And then them sit there and just be like, what do I do with these? I've spent money on printing bits of paper and no one wants them, or not as many people want them. So, and the printing game is a volume game as well. So, it's one of those. I'd love to give it a bit more time. I just haven't got it for that project at the moment. But maybe one day.
I've got one from the Spitfire 124th that you released.
Yeah, we gave that 3 though, didn't we? So we had to. So we knew that we were going to clear those, not sit in the warehouse. And this might sound slightly weird, but I'm not going to make thousands of pounds on selling prints. It's just not going to happen. And my time and the team's time is better spent focusing on kits, which is our core, than getting prints done in bits and pieces. But we will do them in the future somehow. And if we do it as a freebie for something for trade or consumers or whatever, if they come in for a purpose, then great.
Like the coins,
Like the coins, yeah.
Yeah, I like the coins. Dale, when the Iron Decker was released, will it come with a rigging diagram? I think it did in the original kit.
I couldn't remember. Sorry.
I think the Iron Decker has got a rigging diagram with it.
Yeah, I think it has. Yeah.
The new tool one.
The previous question of what vintage classic would I like to see, I'd love to see the Ferguson tractor, and I know that's a massive pipe dream, but I just think that is the golden egg, isn't it? That's the one.
We talked about it, didn't we? Because in theory, you could re-engineer it, couldn't you? You could back re-engineer to that kit quite easily, I guess. Because there's only a few parts. You could, if you wanted to go back and actually. I know that I've done the Hella one, and you can't knock it. It's a bloody good tooling. But if you wanted for that nostalgia to release that original tooling, I'm sure you could re-engineer it. So
yeah, it'd be quicker to just design it straight. I imagine, but that's up to the CAD guys. But plastic will warp with age, and we whilst we have a Ferguson tractor in our Wonderworks Visitor Centre, I guarantee you the parts are, if you tried putting that together now without any filler or anything like that, you'd struggle. So if we were to go in and 3D scan that and just go, there you go, job done, you'd be engineering something that is unbuildable.
I get that, but my argument is that tooling was designed not as to be released as a scale model kit for us to build.
But it wasn't a public release. No, it was a what we call now as a premium. So it was done for Ferguson. Yeah.
But what I mean is that they had people in a factory building them up to give out already assembled. So if I was going to release that, I would actually release it as a very simplified, because it was very simplified with, I think it's 42 parts in it or something, very simplified. But if you did it as a normal tractor, it would be a lot more complicated. If you see what I mean. That was what I was trying to get at, is that if you actually look at the part, it's actually very, very simple. And
I think most would get excited if you did a David Brown tractor.
Oh, David Brown. I spent years on a David Brown 990. Don't even go there.
West Country boy.
Yeah, definitely. Is Airfix still updating tied modes like some of the older armor kits as the Panther and Stug 3? You don't, do you? I think you've not really released anything in 176 or 172nd for about 20 years, 30 years.
72nd, we've done
with Sherman and the Firefly.
Yeah, but then prior to that, didn't we do what was the King Tiger? King Tiger was 76 scale. That's Hornby era off the top of my head.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's Hornby era, that one, yeah.
Yeah, King Tiger's Hornby era. The Bedford QL trucks are Hornby era.
Yeah, 2014 they were, weren't they?
The Cromwell is 76 scale. That's Hornby era.
Yeah.
The Jeep is Hornby era in 76 scale. The Jeep and a little trailer that we used to put in a little gift set. I'm sure that's Hornby era.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Do you know what? We have this chat internally every 12 months because I'd like to see a couple of vehicles alongside the Firefly and Tiger one.
Yeah.
I think if you were to look at sort of Eastern Front, I think there's a few things there that we could do. But it comes down to cash really, and what would where we're going to get more bang for our buck. And it's, I hate to say it, but it's true. So just being honest, I'd rather do an aircraft because for the same cost of development time and everything else, you'd sell way more, and it would live far longer in your catalogue. So
Then again, I see that, but then again, I do feel sad that the 135th tank or armor range is very poor from Airfix.
but it's only Cromwell now, isn't it? And the and the two
the scout car and
80 and the other truck.
Yeah.
But then our focus, as you know now, our focus has been in a different era. So that ferret has certainly led us down a Warren.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's a whole array of vehicles down that Warren that we would love to chip away at over the coming years. But we sort of make a rod for our own backs, really, because that's cash that we could be putting into 76 scale vehicles or aircraft of all sorts of scales. But we think it's certainly worth it given the success of the Ferret. And the Katie and the 30 weight truck have done very well, but that Ferret just that was another one that we just couldn't keep it in stock. It was absolutely silly, and how do you forecast for that? A vehicle of an era of a scale that we don't touch with anything else. You give it your best shot, you buy to it, and then all of a sudden you need twice the amount in, and you're just trying to keep up all the time.
Not being funny, I didn't get that till December 2023. The Ferret.
It was late, wasn't it? Some people, the first run was basically sold out, wasn't it? And then you had to get another load in. So I remember you saying to me at one, I think it was one of the shows, that if you can get more Ferret Scouts in, you would have been happy. And like the next one for that was the lifeboat, wasn't it? The lifeboat just went absolutely maze on you as well, didn't it?
The 48 scale Sea King, the first release, the AS1, AS3. That's another one. Couldn't keep it in stock. And it's silly. So we have started to overbuy to forecast now for some key lines. Obviously, we cannot do that for absolutely everything. I mean, it's no secret that the sort of stock situation of the business, but the overall stock situation of the business doesn't reflect each individual brand. Obviously, it does reflect some brands, but not every brand. And Airfix isn't one of those brands. So, but we're still part of the greater good.
You're envisaging Airfix not really getting involved in 135th tanks now. You're going to move away from that and just concentrate on more of the, I would say, the armored vehicles, more tires and tracks, really. I guess.
Yeah, so that sort of British post Second World War, Cold War era Ferret, the stalwart. I have to be careful.
Stalwart jumping.
They all start with an S.
As soon as you release that, you know damn well that we're all going to start considering all, because the thing is though, you say you make them off your own back. When you release the Katie, then you release the truck. It's all the same chassis, and so it's a really clever way of getting more bang for your buck anyway, because you've already got that tooling for that. And all you're doing is putting on. You've already got the chassis. All you got to do now is create a tooling for the body. So I can see that if there's more vehicles like that.
Yeah, designers absolutely love, whether they're graphic designers, product designers, whatever. They absolutely love the phrase "all you need to do is." So. But you're right. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of common parts that are designed. There's turrets that we used on the Ferret that we used on other things, beginning with S. There's wheels. There's absolutely tons of things that use common parts. So it's whether we've been able to make the tooling as efficient as possible whilst keeping the cost as low as possible. By splitting those things out. So you can't have a small frame just with 6 wheels on, for example, but that might be how it is. I can't remember off the top of my head, because you end up having a suite of 10 tools just for one release, but your production cost will be through the roof because you need to run these 10 tools to release it. So some of our competitors do it that way, and
track them.
and the price of the kits are vary as well. So But you're quite right. There's loads of scope in that little space.
Mm.
Go on then. We'll ask the question. TSR2. Now I've got two. I've got four actually now.
That's
Seal
got one.
kits.
Yeah, I've got one of each. So I've got one of each there in the loft. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's
I want another one.
Yeah. Should I open them and build them now, or are we going to see something like that in the future being released, or has it? Because I can't deny it. It says limited edition, but I presume
those two present us a bit of an issue actually. That and the Nimrod.
Yeah.
Because all three of those were classed as limited edition.
Mm.
So yeah, we don't know what to do at the moment. So and all the time we don't need to make a decision. I won't. So
is it still available though?
Who knows? Who knows?
What about the Sea Vixen?
Who knows?
Who knows?
That was never a limited edition though, was it?
When I was doing the Spitfire video, I was shocked how many of those kits have only been released twice. So in my mind, knowing you, they must be due a release in the next 2 years because
you missed one, boss.
I missed the Mark 8 because it was a Matchbox tooling.
There was a customer came into the shop last week who had watched it, and he's got quite a lot of kits.
Yeah,
and he had one. Can't remember what it was now.
The Mark 8C was one of those. I didn't add it because it isn't an official Airfix tooling. It was released by Otikai. Is it Otikai? And it was actually made into a Matchbox kit. It was a Matchbox kit as well before Airfix, a 148. It was a Mark 8
kit. An Otaki kit.
Otaki, yeah, it was Otaki. Then it went to others, and I think Airfix boxed the. I think they call it Arai, ARII.
Yeah.
Otaki for same family.
So I didn't miss it out. Even though Airfix released it, it couldn't be classed as an Airfix tooling, so it didn't get added. This is the trouble when you do these kind of videos, because you got people saying, "Oh, why didn't you say this kit?" Well, no, that was a Peerless Max kit originally, or a Tomy kit. It wasn't Airfix tooling, so you end up with this big debate. So that's why it wasn't added to the list. But yeah,
I don't know if it was that one that he mentioned.
Now he's biting his hand because he doesn't want to say anything.
Who, me? No, I just love the conversation. So
yeah,
there's tons of things. It's not. I was going to say it's not difficult to pull a range together. Actually, it is quite difficult, as some of us have found in recent weeks. But
you keep asking me questions.
Yeah, but it's there's loads of things that haven't been in the range for a long time. But it doesn't mean you should release them all at the same time.
Exactly.
So otherwise, in 12 months' time, I'll be sat here going, I've released all the good stuff. What do I do now? That's quite interesting. So once we get over the next few weeks and have next year's range bolted down, then I'd certainly be planning vintage classics over 5 years. We should be in that space now anyway. But we're a very, very small team with big ambitions, so we find ourselves firefighting a lot of the time, which is not ideal. But
there's one. It's still owned by Hornby Hobbies, and I've said this before. At your detriment, there's only one pot of cash for development between the whole brands. Really,
I don't know. I don't know if it's detriment. We certainly fight for that cash. We're all very passionate. We're told to not be as passionate sometimes because it comes off as aggressive. But we're all very passionate about our brands and getting the most for them and for our consumers. That's for sure. So you never need to worry about that at all as a consumer for Airfix. But there's certainly people doing that. But it's very yin yang, isn't it? There's loads of there can be loads of drawbacks, but equally there are an absolute ton of benefits as being part of a group. So one day we will hopefully not too far away, we're all the group will start making a profit, and we all then start benefiting from it. So, but there has been a mindset change internally where brands are seen as their own business units anyway. So, if I can justify rightly the spend of something, and the company has the cash, then off I go. But I'm held accountable for that spend and any money that it does or does not make as a result of it. So, but equally, there's other brands in the business that there are huge ambitions for, so they get a big injection of cash in different stages. So, as long as we keep on doing what we're doing, then prove that we're not a problem, and keep on making some cash, then it's all good.
I was just going to say, most big businesses like this, you treat everyone as a startup. Each section's got their own little startup, and that's how so you've all got your own pot and whatever, and keep doing what you have to do, innit? To bring. The only thing is though is that you may have your own little pots, but ultimately the money coming in is one profit and one loss, isn't it? At the end of it, so it's business, isn't it? And so, like I say, it's nice that we have got a passionate people at Airfix helping us, or bringing us really good models, really. And as I said, I can't say of a shit kit from Airfix in the last 10, 12 years. I just can't think of one.
I certainly think there's kits that we wish we'd done a better job on, but I appreciate that, Moz.
You've got some incredible designers there as well, haven't you? Which does bring me on to the Jaguar. So you've been titillating us this week, I should say, with the Jag. Can I play the video? Does that be allowed? If I play the video, then you can all watch it. You've released this today.
I'll just copyright strike you after.
Yeah, just do that, mate, if you want to. Where is it actually? Here. Is that one? Yeah, that's the one. If I just click this one here, it should bring it up.
Video.
This video. Oh, well, there you are, the Jag. That does. You're excited, aren't you, Dale, to release that kit, aren't you? I can tell.
Well,
You've been going on about it for ages now.
I say it's always a team, but we have been itching at the bit to release that for 12 months. So,
really? 12 months ago?
Well, the design has been way over 12. Started 12 months ago, and the research even way before that. So last January when we announced the range, and loads of people, including Alex, turned around and said, "I'm really disappointed that they've not announced a 148 scale Jaguar." We're all sat there going, "Yeah."
I needed my points for the Mystic Meg thing.
So are we. It was quite. So then we spent the whole year just that whole build up to people, just more and more people asking us for a 48 scale Jag the whole of last year, and we're just sat in the office going, we can't wait to tell you guys about the Jag, about the TR9, everything. Stalwart people were sort of talking about.
I still think it was funny when you
say, we can safely say you have an excellent poker face on that one.
But I think it's also really good, Dale, because it shows that you guys have a finger on the pulse of what people are actually wanting. If you brought out a 148 scale something that everybody was like, about, maybe you wouldn't be as connected. But like already tooling a Jag when people are begging for a Jag shows that, you guys kind of do know what you're talking about. That's the
Thanks,
final bit.
Alex. Yeah, I mean, and that is before the masses started asking for it.
Yeah.
So it's identifying those gaps, and then being able to, through various reasons why we can't always, but it's been able to dedicate a designer to it, dedicate the cash for it, whether that's design time or tooling, budget, and everything else, and release it in a timely manner. So we then saw that Hell Air was releasing that, and we just went, okay, then lads, crack on, because it would be the last time you really you get anything from that. So we're not worried about that at all with this particular kit. So and there hasn't been anything new tool wise over the last few years, and it's not me at all. It's just a team, but that hasn't sold beyond expectation. And I'm not just saying that because you'd expect me to, but that is the honest truth. And that's why we've struggled to keep stocking, because how do you predict this stuff? You look at forecasts of similar things from the past, you sort of increase it, you mold it around a little bit. Okay, we expect to be able to do this. Great, you've done it in the first 2 months. Great, get more. So but then you're trying not to flood the market, which is a tricky balance. So.
Just out of asking then, Dale, so what is the timeline or the lead up? So say, for instance, you then put out this Jaguar and you realise you're not going to have enough kit. I suppose, do you have to then ring the factory up and say, oh, we need another 5,000 of these kits? Or is it like
an urgent WhatsApp? Yeah, an urgent WhatsApp message to India saying, run more now, please. No. So it actually really depends on the marketing for it and when we've announced it. So announcing things in January is great if we haven't hit the production button. Okay. And we don't plan on hitting a production button for at least another month and a half, because we open our pre-order book to obviously the trade and consumers, and we encourage everyone to place their pre-orders. So we can then gauge how many we think we're going to sell and then buy to that or a little bit more. Secret releases are a nightmare because we don't open the pre-order book to anyone. And when we do start telling some people, because the way we've done secret releases, and I think this is the right way, the product is already on its way. Yeah. So we can go back and say, you need to make more Sea Kings, please, and we can book the production in, but you are already 8-10 weeks on the back foot, because by the time you can get production in, get it booked on a container, bob it around the bottom of Africa, and then up to us. That's the timeline.
Well, that's what I mean. I think that the Sea King, you did you announced the Sea King on the day when we all went there to Historic Helicopters, and all we had to do was, I think it was a month. Was it a month, 6 weeks before it was ready to be shipped to people?
It was about 4 weeks. It was already on its way. It was already on its way when we announced it, which is how I managed to air freight a pallet of them over. Yeah. Which we never air freight, and as Airfix, we never air freight anything over. No. Some of our other brands do when they need to. Obviously, it's a very expensive thing to do.
Air freight's just disgusting, and they've got the market there, haven't they? On the boat, 6 weeks on the plane.
The ships, but so we air freighted a load over for the preview day, but it could be that the production sat in a container on a quayside, but we just can't get the container on a ship. There's just no space, or the container ship doesn't stop at the port that it said it would. There's so many variables there that it is crazy. We often think that as soon as it's on the container ship and we know that container ship's on its way, then you've literally done as much as you can at that point. So.
The Jaguar, what are we going to be in for a treat with this Jaguar then? I read the work blog or the workbench blog from Michael. By the way, please read that workbench blog from Is it Michael? What kind of surname now?
Clegg.
Michael Clegg. Seriously, no bullshit. I call it the blog on the the blog on the bog, I said to him, because I read it when I'm there. But when people say, where do you get your information from? You will not believe how much information he puts into those blogs, basically. And there's no, I just feel that when you speak to, Michael Clegg said this, well, what's this? And I think it's so underused, but also it's a great archive of Airfix releases now. So if you go onto the Airfix website and you want to find information about a tool, I think it's only for the past 5 years. I think it goes into the details, with interviews with the designer, why they chose this. There's so much in there. I just think it's so underrated and unused, and I get a lot of information for what's happening from that blog. But he said that they were going to release something about how it fits together is going to be a real special way. Can you go into that a bit more, Dale, or have I got to wait for the blog to come out?
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that.
A little bit longer, is it?
Oh.
So we're due. The first containers of Jaguars are due next Monday.
Next Monday.
I can't believe I've just told you that. So
Next Monday.
But that's due to dock. That is due to dock. So who knows?
It'd be in Amsterdam on Monday normally.
It went on the ATS list that came out today.
No. There's a reason for that, because they're all sold. So we've got three 40-foot containers just full of Jags coming over.
Wow.
The first, the second and third containers are on the same ship. The first container managed to get on a ship beforehand. Don't know how that happened, but I certainly wasn't going to say no, leave it in India for just a bit longer. So so that first container is due to dock next Monday. The chances are it won't dock on Monday. It will dock on Friday or something silly like that. But there's certainly a lot of pressure.
Or it'll dock somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's certainly a lot of pressure to turn that around and get it out. So we've unfortunately
Rotterdam is fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certainly it's unfortunate we've had to manage the orders for it. So our export customers our trade customers won't be shipped their stock until April. Realistically, even if the container does dock on Monday next week, by the time we turn their order around and get it out the door, they won't get it until April anyway. So we've sort of said, it's the end of our financial year this month, so there's a lot of activity happening. So those few thousand pieces that we've got coming in very soon will go to our UK customers. So the majority, it's like 98% of our UK trade accounts will be shipped their full order quantity.
Wow.
So if you've ordered directly with us, if you've ordered for a wholesaler, then don't know. But in theory, that wholesaler will also receive their first full order quantity. And that's something else that we've changed as well, because not that we think we're going to have to, but just in case, we honour the first orders from people. Yeah. So if a trade customer, and I'm not going to name any names, but if trade customer A turns around and places a pre-order with us in January, a week after announcement, says I'll order 50 pieces with you, and then comes back just before we release the product and says I'll order 250, and we haven't got enough stock, then we will say no, we will honour your first order of 50 first, and then when we can, we'll come back and do your 250. And I think that's the fairest way, because those trade customers are putting bets on us. But they are not putting bets, but they're putting their money down on being able to sell that first quantity of kits. So if you only come to us and say, "I have 2, please," then obviously trade accounts are different sizes. So I'm not saying that I expect orders of 20 pieces all the time. That's not the case. But when I look at some of our larger customers and they only order 12, You go, okay, well, you're definitely going to sell more than 12. You're just not putting your money down on this product right now, which is disappointing considering the amount of work we're going to put in. So everyone's in different situations, of course, but what we say is we will honour those first orders, and then any more, and I think that's the fairest way. So, and hopefully that, just going back on being able to forecast units, and therefore bringing in the correct amount. If everyone put a decent pre-order in to begin with, then it would make forecasting a lot more accurate as well. So yeah, it's a minefield to try and get that sort of stuff right.
Your true forecast comes in way before that pre-order position anyway, and I think you're on a hiding to nothing almost from the start, to be honest with you, because how do you guess how many you're going to sell before you've even launched and got pre-orders?
Yeah, so
that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so some things are very similar. So for the Jaguar, we looked at the Buccaneer and said, increase it by X because this is going to go crazy. And I've just been saying for the last 6 months, this is going to go crazy, guys. And we are ordering, it's like 25% more than the forecast on the Jaguar alone. And and there's very little risk involved in doing that. We will sell them at full price. It's not a problem. So, but if I didn't have the Buccaneers to refer back to, and 2 releases the Buccaneers as well, that makes it quite interesting. The Sea King 48 scale helicopter, we haven't done one of those since the Merlin and the 2 Lynxes 10 plus years ago. There's no point looking at the sales numbers of those because it was 10 years ago. The retail environment has changed. So I'm certainly not getting told off for getting forecasts wrong, but it's being able to react to them as quick as we can. And
it's a variable feast, the forecast thing, and quite frequently you can say it's a floor, not a ceiling. But no, you're to be applauded for supporting your home market first. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do, quite frankly.
Yeah. There's someone in our home market, but thanks. Thank you.
Well, you take the point. You're operating in the UK. You're based in the UK.
We can ship those orders.
We
can ship those orders. We can turn those orders around pretty much on the same day, the bulk of them, which is what we will do. We'll certainly aim to do. We will do absolutely everything we can to get those first orders out. But we already know that first container is sold through. So, and then you'll have to wait a week, 2 weeks for the second and third containers to land. Which really isn't long, but it helps us with the financial year. So,
I think we've got to remember that you're looking after your own, but that happens in every single manufacturer of scale model kits anyway. You don't expect Edard to release, a Wildcat with all their bits and pieces and put it to the English market first before they look after their own over there. Same with Revell. I bet all the kits from Revell end up going out to Germany first before we get them over here in the UK. I think that's the way it works, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, we certainly don't. Just to clarify, we're not planning releases to look after the UK market, so we plan them to be able to fulfill everyone's orders equally, regardless of where you are. If you're our German distributor, then I mean, my ideal scenario would be able to ship our export customers their stock a week before we release anything from the UK.
Yeah,
because that means that they've got it in their warehouses. And then we all release to our trade partners and consumers at the same time. That would be my absolutely ideal. But that just means delaying it in the UK, which I don't want to do. So
am I assuming then, Dale, that all this product comes to England first before then it gets shipped to Australia then America? Or do you actually ship direct from India to Australia and America?
Yeah, so we ship FOB sometimes. So we will ship... It's normally the first runs of things will go straight down to Australia FOB or straight to America West Coast FOB as well. So, and then any top-up orders that they want, when they place their orders with us, say it's Australia, for example, we will see if we're running those products anytime soon out of India. If we are, we will offer them FOB. If we're not, then they will take containers from the UK down to Australia or America. So it doesn't always work like that, but yeah, in theory, the first and therefore the bulk of their initial order, well, it's always their initial order is supplied FOB out of India.
Cool. Well, did you get the Jaguar scanned? Where was the Jaguar scanned?
Oh, I don't know. I was actually doing a sprue talk this morning for the first time in a long time.
Oh, so, sprue talk.
And
I've been on one.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. So we had Jen Wright on today of Genesis Models. Go and check out her channel. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's good.
So we were talking a lot about RAF Cosford, and I know Luke and the designer were up there quite a lot. They went to RAF Coltishall because there's one there now, and they had a lot of information. Yeah, basically, we will go to absolutely everything we can and need to for different versions, for different things, for different life stages, if that makes sense. So is a Jaguar different post Gulf War, all that sort of stuff. So we will scan as anything that doesn't move, basically. So
have you got your own scanner now? Have you got your own scanner now, or are you still hiring one in?
No, we still hire one in. That technology changes and evolves so quickly that for us to go and spend thousands of pounds, like it's tens of thousands of pounds on a scanner, would be obsolete in 6 months. So why waste your cash on that? Just hire it when you need to. But, our researchers do an amazing job in scanning literally everything they can when they go out on trips as well. So we've got such a back catalogue of stuff that we most probably are never going to design, but we've got the scans there. So that's good. We certainly make good use of it.
I was disappointed that you haven't got a Bearcat scan. That did disappoint me. You
We
haven't
might
though.
have one.
No, you
Have we
haven't. You haven't.
No, we told you.
No.
Yeah.
Because the only one that you can scan,
never going to be made. So
the only one that could be scanned is at Duxford in the hangar there, and that's private owned, isn't it? So you need to get the guy at Duxford who flies all those American warbirds. He's a really interesting chap to listen to. Get him on your sprue talk next when you're next to a release of your Wildcat or something like that. So, then are we going to be seeing a 148? Tonka soon, Dale?
I honestly, I'd love to put it in the range, but it's not planned at the moment. So, annoyingly, obviously, was it Revell or Italeri?
Yeah,
Revell. I can't
Revell
remember.
for the 48 one, yeah.
Yeah, so annoyingly, they've done one not too long ago. So, I think we're going to spend our money on something else for a bit.
Yeah, because I think. Because we've had Luke when he was on Airfix originally, when he worked for Airfix, he was telling, he would say quite clearly that you look at what's not been told and what has been told recently before you make executive decisions like that. Because you have to look at the market all the time, I suppose, and what's going on. The only thing I can say is that you've got nothing to worry about Tamiya because they're releasing bugger all, really. It's the likes of you and say others that are releasing decent tooling now, and I think you're getting there. I think you're right up there. What's Tamiya released recently? Anything that's
we're all good friends.
That's it.
Yeah.
On the Tonka.
Yeah.
We have the Revell kit, which is not new. It's already a couple of mostly a decade old. Italeri just did a re-release. That was the one, the Italeri one. That's the new re-release, which is also not the most optimal kit. So I wouldn't wait too long to make. If you can do that on the same level as the Jaguar or the Sea King, that's basically you have gold in your hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
10 years since the 148 scale Merlin, maybe a re-release of that. One of the most asked for kits in the shop. That's from Alex, that is. I don't know why you can just say that. I have to go put it on a bloody comment and then I've got to put it up.
He's put loads on there.
Yeah, I've been looking.
So on that Merlin, then, I put this to you guys that we released that Merlin when it was still in RAF hands, and then, we announced it rather. We designed it whilst it was still in RAF hands, and then by the time we released the kit, the RAF handed them to Fleet Air Arm and the Marines, and because the RAF then took on Chinooks, didn't they? They bought X number of Chinooks and handed those over. Then the Fleet Air Arm Navy have now changed all of those airframes, so there isn't a single one now that is represented by that kit. Do you think that's a problem?
That would be a problem if you knew what they look like proper. I think 70% of all modelers don't care if it's too accurate. They just want to build something that represents a Merlin. Is that not a fair statement? I think river counters are 30% of what a model builder is.
I think you get the same principle as with the Sea King, because then, let's say, for instance, the Belgian ones. We had some aftermarket kits that were doing all kinds of resonance stuff, especially for the Belgian Sea Kings. And they just put the Airfix Sea King in a box with all the aftermarket.
Yes.
So that's a very feasible scenario if someone feels he can do better.
Yeah. It depends on the severity of the change, doesn't it? Because the RAF ones had that massive back door that I believe they've now all been changed out. I don't think they have doors anymore on the back, and
that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, and they now have folding rear tail rotors and bits and pieces as well. So there are huge things that they've changed now. What do you think, Alex?
You can always retool it.
But the tooling
there are a couple of Australian folks who are doing all sorts of aftermarkets in resin as well, and they do the redesigns for many of the special stuff that is needed to make those changes. It might be worth a shot.
Yeah, I'd love to put it in the range.
The Merlin it's really underrepresented. I mean, the 1/72nd scale one that Teleri are releasing this year is an old kit. That's the first time it's been around for a long time. So, I mean, the quote unquote rarity of the subject means I think people would buy it, if not to do the kind of historic, if you like, version of it, but also, like Dirk says, the aftermarket sector would rise to it. I think with 3D printing as well now, people would possibly, do some CAD stuff themselves, or some clever people would, and get some on Cults 3D and things. So I don't think that would be necessarily a problem. If Airfix was to also do some clever little additional bits, that would also be a fantastic thing. But I think it would sell.
Yeah.
Was the Herrick range a disappointment for Airfix when it was released, Dale, back in 2013?
Yeah, 2011, 12, wasn't it?
2013 it was, because you released a complete range.
It was over a couple of years.
Yeah.
I remember that because I was working on the brand at the time. Was it a disappointment? I don't think it was a disappointment. I think there was a lot released in one hit.
Yeah.
Off memory, but I couldn't tell you the body. Well, I couldn't remember the bodies and expectations. So, but that's a nice little category of products that we know we have the toolings for, including the Merlin, and I'd love to put them into the range fairly soon.
I think you'd be wise to look at an airborne early warning, anti-submarine warfare Merlin, because that little bulb that sits on the side is something that would look nice in that range, and you could also do a historical one for the Sea King as well, and that particular upgrade was developed for use and rushed through for use in the Falklands conflict. There would be interest, I think, in that, without question.
Of the Merlin.
Yeah, the later Merlins, the current ones out. There's two variants. There's a troop carrier variant, and there's an anti-submarine warfare. So it's got the ASW one has a Thorny MI search water radar installed into it in that little bulb that sits.
But that'll be for the aftermarket guys, won't it, to put all that out? I guess
it could be. Yeah. It could be standard molded, surely. I mean, that would be something that you could do as a variant.
Yeah. All of this is possible. We just have to keep in mind that tooling is money. So, and I'd rather spend money on tools for brand new kits. It's just the honest reply. So, absolutely doable, 100%.
Yeah. Just looking at scale mates, just quickly, it's not just the Merlin. You know, you've got the Warrior, the BAE Warrior. That could be, you know, that was a new tool in back in the day. The Land Rover Patrols. Now, people have said that they would like to see the Land Rover Patrols back in because they could do a lot with that tooling for the Land Rover. You know, there's a lot they can do with that because people have had them before, especially with aftermarket. And also, you've got the Supercat Jaguar and the Coyote as well.
Oh, those are.
You built that one, didn't you, John? Didn't you do the Coyote?
Man,
Yeah, John.
I was just going to say those are great vehicles, and there was a lot of interest in them. So
yeah.
Jaguar,
And the quad bikes as well.
I think the other thing with the Herrick range is it's all 1/48 scale, and I think maybe Airfix was a little bit ahead of its time. 1/48 scale vehicles have become a lot more popular in the last sort of 5 years or so. So I think that range, you know, people appreciate the fact that you can get quite a lot of detail in a relatively compact vehicle.
Yeah.
Rather than just going to 1/35th. So I think like you said before, Dale, you know, the market changes. Like the figures, the old vintage classic figures now, I think would be great because now you have a huge lot of miniature painters, you know, mini painters, not necessarily for war games and stuff, but just like YouTube video people who do these, and that's a different market that didn't exist when they were around in the 70s, really. So I think 48 scale vehicles, that whole Herrick range would be good.
Yeah,
I think you're right. If you look at the number of brands out there over the last few years that have upped the scale of certain aircraft to match the scale, the most popular scale of vehicles.
Yeah.
Which has made a huge helicopter, an amazing kit. Fair play to them. But you would, if you tried doing that 10 years ago, it would have been before its time.
Yeah.
So everyone would have gone, "Why are you doing that?" But it's obvious, and I think you're right, Alex. I think it was slightly ahead of its time to try and merge what. Most people will make models of aircraft of certain eras, won't they? This is you know, you guys might be different, but modelers tend to prefer or lean towards a certain type of category. If you want to call it like that, you know, a certain scale and a certain era of certain vehicle type. Ultimately, you get modelers that will flip between loads of things because they're just interested in loads of different things, and that's absolutely fine. I wonder how many are happy to model aircraft and vehicles or vehicles and aircraft. That is, I think that's bigger now, but it wasn't then. Like I model vehicles because I'm rubbish at painting aircraft. so like a tank, a Land Rover, a Jaguar, Coyote for me is a dream because I can build it, I can take it out in the garden, I can rattle can it, I can throw a load of mud at it, I can detail it a little bit, and I'm done. But I can't do that with a Sea King or a Lysander or whatever because it just looks rubbish. So
yeah, I get that. But just on that flip side, then, talking about the smaller scales, I think Wargaming dropped it with going for 156. I think 148 is a good size for a majority of Wargaming, but they opted for the 156 sort of scale, didn't they? And we're noticing a lot more of that coming onto the market, like with Rubicon models, etc. Where you've got Tamiya, who set really a standard at 148 with their range of kits when it comes to vehicles, armor, and stuff. Is that you've got a company under the Hornby umbrella, I should say, Warlord Games, who do 156? Would that not be beneficial for Airfix to go down that 156 scale range then with the Warlord tie-in and make that more of a Wargaming sort of thing?
Not their tools,
isn't it? Okay, interesting.
So the question you should ask is whether Warlord should choose tools that we have in our tool bank.
That's what I'm trying to get at. Why don't they go for the 148?
Well, we don't have tools of everything that they need in 48 scale, but
I mean, develop your range in 148, because at the moment, like we've had a few questions tonight asking whether we would do, you're going to redo the 172nd scale, etc. Why don't you go for the 148 market and then do that?
Yeah.
Excellent, because you've already done it. You used the 172nd Spitfire Messerschmitt to do one game, which is all right. You want to nick their stands. The stands in the Warlord game packages are brilliant. Just saying, all right? Because the Airfix ones it's like you just grabbed it from a Star Trek badge. Do you know what I mean? And put a rod on it. But their stands are pretty good in that game, aren't they? So. But yeah, if you went down that sort of route of let's develop the 148 and push that, because then you'll have the gamers thinking, well, I know Tamiya do 148, they do a very good range of 148, but it doesn't stop you from doing that and developing the range. For that.
Yeah. There are. I mean, we could sit here for a couple of hours talk about what we could be doing, and I'd love to. I'm not going to, but
I know, of course,
but ultimately, it comes down to cash injection and what we can spend it on, and where the obvious gaps are at the moment, and going into 48 scale vehicles of their biggest gaming category, which is Second World War, is Tamiya, and they have that pretty much sewn up. So why would we? Is the honest answer at the moment. Now we would, because we don't make any money ourselves for it. That's not always a reason not to go and do something. But equally, that there are a ton of things that we'd love to go and do that no one's doing, or no one has done well for a while. And some of those things have been mentioned this evening, either on the video or on the chat. So we haven't got millions to play with, but far from it. We haven't even got £500,000 to play with a year on capex. We have to be really, really careful with where we're spending cash and the sort of types of returns that we're expecting and stuff. And hopefully one day we will be able to. And who thought 5-6 years ago that we'd be doing 35th scale ferrets and Cold War British vehicles?
Dale, for Airfix, I think Alex has done a few videos on it. When it comes to releases of new tooling, you're up there with most of them bringing out new tooling. There's not many companies that do more tooling than you every year. I think that's a fair statement. So how you're getting more bang for your buck, I don't know, but you're doing all right with that, mate. I think ICM have released a few more. Well, they've done quite a few figure sets, etc. But the rest of them aren't a shade on what Airfix are doing. I'm not trying to blow smoke at your ass. I'm just saying, going by the facts. When was the last time Metallery released anything? Of bulk, 3 or 4 kits a year. I think your tooling. That's what I was going to ask you. Was now the starter set range is kind of complete for you? Because I remember you saying that the lifeboat day that, apart from the fact there's 15 and you could do a 16 because there's a square missing on the PowerPoint.
Annoying,
You could feel that with that submarine, mate. Put that submarine as a starter set. It's easy to build. I'll get my 8-year-old nephew to build
2-seater Eurofighter Typhoon.
And you've got a reason why you can have that submarine. That submarine will go as a starter set. I promise you. It's brilliant. It's a small little tool. It goes together well. Put it in your starter set. Anyway, what are you going to use? You've been developing that starter set range with at least 2 or 3 releases a year. What's the plan now? Are you going to now the starter set range is kind of complete? Have you got another vision now for that money that you had tied up in development of that Is there another sort of range you're going to do?
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So obviously,
Oh,
the money that we have available to us isn't the same every year. It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. So I can't say, for the last 5 years, half of it is, for example, has been spent on starter set. And even if that was true, it doesn't mean that going forward I now have half that I don't know what to do with. So the total cash, the total design, the number of designers, the design time changes as well.
Yeah.
Every couple of years we will release a 124 scale kit. When we design a 124 scale kit, we essentially put a designer on the shelf for 12, 18 months. They are not doing anything else. They're not designing a 48 scale aircraft and a 72nd scale aircraft as well. That's it. And that money we will most probably end up spending. I'm going to get shot, but less in the year that we do a 24 scale kit.
Yeah.
On tooling. Than versus a 48 scale, a big 48 scale aircraft like a Jaguar, rather than a 72nd scale kit that you could do in the same time. So, but it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Yeah.
So
I do get that. Yeah.
But I think I didn't start off the new starter set design phasing or anything like that. That was way underway when I came back to the business, and I think it's absolutely amazing and absolutely what the brand needed, and and what the national retail and our retailers needed as well. So and I say national retailer from a pure recruitment point of view, and when I say recruitment, I'm then not just talking about young age. I'm talking absolutely anyone, any age, any skill set. But if you can get the Airfix brand into national retailers, you start to grow all sorts of brand awareness, product sales, all sorts of things that can only benefit absolutely everyone. But obviously the brand, you guys, by having more people, but our smaller retailers as well, because when they see something in Audi middle aisle, for example, a retailer said to me that was the best thing you could have ever done. I was like, I thought I was going to get my head ripped off actually, but and he turned around and said it's the best thing you've ever done. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you didn't include enough paints, or they used the paints that were included far too quick. So they come into our shop and they bought more paints. And then they realised that there was so many kits to choose from, and now they come in every 2 weeks and buy a new kit with their pocket money. But that was kick-started by mum or dad buying a kit in middle aisle of Audi Lidl, which is 100% what that's all about. So, and the more retailers that see that, the better it all is, and most do. So.
It's funny, Dale, actually, because I get a lot of people coming into the shop saying, "Oh, you can buy whatever in Aldi and Lidl. You cross it at Airfix for that." And it's like, no, it's a completely different thing. It's like comparing apples and pears. It's like no, and exactly what you said. People come in after buying them because that doesn't last long. That little period in Aldi Lidl,
2 weeks,
and it's I think a lot of kits are taken up by people like us, going out and buying our paint mules and stuff. So I don't understand it when people think that I'm mad at Airfix for broadening the reach of model making.
If we can double, treble, whatever the football into model stores because they've spent 5-8 quid on a model kit for a national retailer, then we might not be benefiting directly. We will be, obviously, a proportion of that through the footfall, through retailers or our own website. But that's an amazing thing for the hobby. So, and I'm glad to be able to do it with the Airfix brand. So,
and the starter kit range itself is, I have my niggles over certain kits, as everybody does. But as a brand overall, I mean, they're fantastic. And I had a family come on holiday. The couple of young lads and the dad came into the shop, and they were just like, oh, having a look around. They bought, I think, 3 starter kits, 1 each. They were in the next day buying some more. It's like, yeah, this is great. Remember how good it was? And it's just like, you couldn't get that with a standard kit.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they would. You'd have to spend 30 quid on paint.
Yeah.
But they brought 3 kits. They brought 3 kits that would have cost them not much more than 35, 36 quid. Recommended on the small start sets is 11.99. So they would have spent 36 quid on 3 kits. There's no way you could have bought 3 kits and all the paint, glues, brushes, everything that you needed to give it a good.
Although
crack,
when they came in the next time, one of them was just like, "Oh, I want to buy this." I think it was an IBG MiG-29, which was like,
yeah.
Like, let's not run before we can walk. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Not being funny. You
Not
said
being
that
rough.
Audi and Lidl. My Lidl wouldn't stock Airfix kits because their manager thought they were too posh to do model kits.
Yeah.
My manager. I
think.
My understanding is that they should have gone into every store. So they're certainly bought to go into every store. What happens at a store level is beyond us. But
it may just be a franchise holder. We don't get the kits at all in the Netherlands, for instance.
No, we would love to. We would absolutely love to sell them into Audi and Lidl in Europe. Their buying team is very different, which I'm not going to go into now. So
I was just saying that when it comes to these starter sets, they make the most perfect presents. The amount of times I've had a secret. There's 2 I go for. I always go for the quick build.
Also, just quickly clarify that we've never put the new starter set tooling has never gone into Audi or Lidl.
No.
What? No. None of the tanks.
Sorry, the 2 tanks. Sorry, but the aircraft have never gone into Audi Lidl, and that's we purposely do that to make a point of difference for our what we call our independent retailers. And others, rightly or wrongly, but that's what we do. Because also you start to the price points are different as well. So Audi and Lidl put them in for 5 or 8 quid or whatever it is. It's up to them. That's their side of things. But I think it would be a real shame for them to sell something at 8 quid when the recommended is 12. So it's another point of difference.
I think this is
there's no flying hours anymore either. You got rid of the flying hours.
When I looked at how many we were selling through those channels, I thought I'd take those flying hours off. Sorry, Yin Yang.
No, the strategy is absolutely correct, I think, and has worked in other channels. I operated in the specialist hi-fi sector for a number of years back along, and we understood absolutely that putting certain types of, shall we say, low-end, high-end hi-fi, and I was selling hi-fi systems that were up to 100,000 quid, but selling £1,000 hi-fi system through multiple retail drove people into hi-fi stores and expanded the brand recognition as well by a very considerable margin. So the strategy is absolutely correct, in my view.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. We're beholden to the buyers of these retailers, number one. So
their job is to sell product for profit, and that's it.
And we tick a lot of their boxes, which is why they come back every year.
And that you give them the right deal, you buy their space on the shelf, and they get a return for it, and so do you. So and this was precisely the way that we operated in the hi-fi manufacturer that I worked for, and people would say, "Oh, well, we can't buy those things in our specialist." Well, no, but you don't want to. You're a specialist. But no, well done. Good strategy.
But the trouble is, though, it's all been said before that the majority of those kits that get bought at Audi and Lidl are scale modelers, aren't they? I buy them.
Was it last? It was last year, wasn't it? The end of last year, and it went nuts for Audi schemed aircraft. was it Aldi or Lidl? I can't
Lidl,
never remember which. But I saw decor schemes with Lidl on the side of it. It was absolutely amazing, and I just thought, if that's the hype that we get when we put that in, yeah. So
I know you put the tanks in as the new tooling tanks in there, but I think you had to, because I think the older tooling, the 176 or 00 side, wouldn't have worked. I don't think.
It's about recognisability, isn't it?
Yeah.
But not really funny was the duck sold quite the UK double sold.
Yeah.
Everyone loved the duck. Yeah. Tick in the box. Yeah.
Is it like a bog standard range that you pick from? I suppose they're all Series 1's kits, obviously, aren't they? Yeah. They're all Series 1 kits.
Yeah, so we did a load of boxes for them ages ago, and or that type of retailer. Stop saying names now, but we did a load of product for them, and some of them were never taken. So after year one, when they came back and said, "Oh, we want to do it again, but can you change out a couple of kits?" Yeah, we've already got these ones for you. So we've always kept a few in the back pocket. Last year, one of them asked a question, and I just go in the archive and have a little look, see what there is, and nothing too controversial. And the duck wasn't in their main range anymore. We certainly didn't have any stock of it, so I just thought, let's put the duck in. It's D-Day year as well, so who doesn't like a duck?
No, exactly.
No, I know a very good story about a duck.
A rude one.
No. When the River Mole flooded back in the 60s, my dad went to rescue my aunt and uncle's, my aunt and the kids from my uncle's place in Molesey. He went in a duck.
That could be a box art next for you. A bit of a backstory for your next release of that duck there. What's saying? Question. This is a good one. Come on, up you get. Couple of last questions. Was there going to be any changes or improvements to the vintage classic Hudson Airfix are bringing out later in the year? I built the original 1970s kit just last year.
No, pure nostalgia.
Pure nostalgia, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No plan changes to my knowledge. Whether they give the tool a good clean and everything, but nothing to my knowledge.
What happened to the Wallace and Gromit kits? Did you own those toolings for those Wallace and Gromit kits? Have you still got them? Have you?
That is a good question.
Because I was going to say, with the release of the latest movie, Crumbs, you got Top Gun and you put out that shite for Top Gun, right?
I think if we knew where those tools were, we would have put them out. So, yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Did you want to do a quick fire round with a load of questions and stuff?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah. Any plans for VJ Day?
Is that this year or next year?
This year.
This year.
It is this year, because you got VE Day this year, haven't we? I can never remember if they were the same year, but
they are the same year. The Victory in Europe was in the February, and I think VJ Day is in the
3 months apart.
May.
Yeah, 3 months apart, isn't it, or something?
Yeah. Nothing at the moment. No product release is due for VJ Day. In the same way that there's no product releases that haven't been announced for VE Day.
Right.
He's gone.
I'm here. Sorry, somebody just said then. Question: is there any chance of a vintage classic badge or collector coin, and how have the collector's coins gone down with the public?
That's a good question.
I haven't thought about doing one for vintage classics. Actually, it's a good one. The coins have done really well. So we produce a limited number of coins. There they are.
You can't do another one because I'd have to have another tray then, wouldn't I?
You're gonna have to go and get. I tell you now, you're gonna have to go and get another
12.
tray. So
you've done 12.
We've done
5 trees here, by the way.
Have you got the Australian? Have you got the Australian Spitfire one?
Yes, I have. Grey Nass.
No, we did a special for Australia.
Well, you did for Australia?
Yeah.
You never told me that, you bastard. That's that one, no?
That's the UK one we did. We did another one for Australia.
I'll send it over then. I'll give you 15 quid.
Nice.
I got them all. That's what I think. I think they look brilliant.
You
I
haven't got them all.
say they just-
No, I have them all.
Yeah.
No, so coins are done really well. So excellent, Paul. Well, is that the Australian one, I guess? So yeah, coins are done really well. We're not in the business of selling coins individually. That's we leave that up to runway 24, 25. Apologies, Tom. But we will sell them as enablers to our kits. And we've sold the odd one. Our club coins do very well. We only bring 250 of those in a year. We're not getting rich in them, but it's just nice for club members to buy something a bit different. I know a lot of people ask why aren't they into part of the kit, but not everyone wants a coin, and they're not cheap. So that's why we keep them separate. So coins.
Will there be any Swedish models in the Airfix Classic range in the future, in 2026 perhaps?
Oh, well, there absolutely will in the future. Categorically, there will be in the future. For next year or not, I don't know. I do know that it's the centenary of the Swedish Air Force next year. So
it is, yeah. Are there any more sets related, like the D-Day and Battle of Britain sets, e.g., RAF, VC, Spanish Civil War, etc.?
Any more plans? I'd certainly there will be some in the future. I have no doubt, but nothing. We haven't announced anything, and there's nothing else in that area due for the release this year.
Yeah,
announcement or release.
What toolings can be confirmed to have been lost?
We've covered that.
We've covered that, haven't we? The 124 Spitfire Mark 8 being made in the UK, like how the Mark 9 was being made.
Yes.
Yeah. Same place, is it?
Yeah, same place. I mean, it's pretty much the same tools as well. There's just a couple of tools that are different, but rear part and everything else is the same. So that is currently made in the UK.
And Vigan are classic aircraft. Yeah,
they are.
Let's go back through.
There's Talon too.
Any chance of making suggestions to Airfix about vintage classics? Yeah, send Dale an email. Which one do you use now? Marketing.
Send your product suggestions to marketing@airfix.com, and the team will pick it up. We do read them and we do log them, so don't think it's wasted.
Your sale's still going, by the way, and at 50% off.
Of what we've got left, yeah. And from today, there's if you spend over £50 to get a free pint glass.
Pint glass. I've got mine here.
Airfix water.
Airfix water. There you go. We need a new tooling of the Harrier GR3 and 124 for 148. Can Airfix get this done, please?
We'll get on it, Paul.
You're already on it, I reckon.
No.
To be honest.
I'd love a new suite of 48 scale Harriers, but
would love to see a Sherman M4A4 with Firefly, DD, and Crab versions in both 135 and 176, maybe 148. Is there scope for you to get the 172nd scales starter set Sherman or the Tiger and add new parts to it?
No, so the Tiger, the Tiger is the Tiger. The Sherman Firefly is a very different beast to the Sherman M4A4. Very, very different. So I do think there is scope to use base kits of Hobart's funnies with extra parts, tooled resin or otherwise. I think that would make a nice little set.
Yeah,
and we've got some of them already because we've got the bridge layer and we did the crab tank.
Yeah.
So there's a few others that we've never done in injection molding, but I think that would be a Hobart's funny.
Yeah.
Would be quite.
Yeah. Are there any figures for the Jaguar?
I think there are. Yes.
Yeah. Any more questions, folks? Quickly, have you got a question, Nigel? You popped on. Nice to see you, my friend.
Hey, Nigel.
Hello. Yeah, I did have a question. I've forgotten it. Yes, that's the question. Yeah. Will there be a re-release of the 124th Hellcat in F6 3? Because I noticed in the fuselage you have the cutout for the window that goes behind. Will there be a re-release of that kit?
It certainly will happen. When I couldn't tell you, Nigel, but yeah, it certainly will happen. I think that will be re-released before some of the others, the other newer Hornby ones. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But interesting that you noticed the holes.
Yeah.
Asking your friend, Dale, will you re-release the 124 scale Mosquito?
Again, we have the tools, so yeah, we absolutely will at some point. As and when.
Terry amputate his fingers this time.
Yeah. I'd absolutely love to release that. I think a lot of people would be surprised how it lacks a lot of detail now, given that it's been over 10 years since we released that. And if you put the Mark 9 or Mark 8 Spitfire next to that Mosquito, you'll be quite surprised at how up detailed the Spits are. But that's just 10 odd years of progress. But yeah, it will happen at some point.
Yeah.
I will say that the people chunner at the fact that the Mosquito's around about £200 at at trader shows and stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did release it, it would cost around that much again to release it as expensive. People don't realize how big the Mosquito is. It's a hell of a size kit. It's a lot of plastic in that box. I think you're pissing in the wind if you think you're going to get it for 120 quid, because it is a big tooling.
Yeah, how much was that Hellcat when it came out? 120, 140 quid?
140 quid, yeah.
Yeah. So the Mozzie is easily a third extra or whatever. So yeah, I reckon you'd be talking 160, 180 for that. But that's just finger in the air job. Well, need our suppliers to run the tools and give me a quote, and also work out how much to ship that, because that is not going to be cheap. I'd only be able to get a few in a container. So
what about making it in England? Is that not an option?
It's absolutely an option, but the cost of containers have come down. They went up actually a couple of months ago.
They did.
Near COVID levels. It was silly again.
$6,700 it was. $6,000 for a container.
Yes.
We're talking about it, weren't we, on Chill?
For an empty box, yeah. Obviously, you've got to be shipped, but it would ultimately cost more, even with the shipping cost. But the larger kits we have, there's more margin to play with making that in the UK, which is why that Spitfire is made in the UK at the moment. So. Yeah. Will that change in the future? I don't know.
I think you've got a nice little boat. You've got a nice little B1B Lancer in your warehouse that could be easily released as a vintage classic. I'm pretty sure of it. It's in England. If you can't, I'd even hire the forklift to drive it down to the south coast for you, mate. All right, you get that.
Take you a few days, yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Paying for that, didn't you?
Yeah. Really quickly, boats, ships. What is Airfix's standpoint with boats and ships? I understand the Type 45 destroyer. No, was it the Defender? Wasn't it? I think you did. Destroyer. But you've got no plans for any sail ships or any other boats at the moment, or tooling of any, like the Prince of Wales or the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier. I gather that.
No, so
mentioned before.
Yeah, categorically no plans for new tools of that category of products. Unfortunately, at the moment, I'd love to, but the costs involved. I feel like I'm a broken record. It comes back to volumes and how many I sell or something, and ultimately, I know I can make more money on aircraft at the moment, so that's where we put our money. So. I'd love to do a brand new aircraft carrier in 350th scale.
I think Pramjit would like to do it more, though, wouldn't he? Because he is a boat builder, isn't he?
Yeah, but there's nothing on him. But no. So I'd love to see that in the range. But no plans. We did predecessor Daryl, God bless him, he did have one scratch built when it was put on Telford stand many moons ago. We've still got that, so we know how big it will be. But yeah, at the moment there's absolutely no plans to do anything, or otherwise. There's no new sailing ships or anything planned at the moment. So
I don't think there's anything new out there ship-wise anyway. I think the last ones was the Destroyer and all that, wasn't it? That's the last ones even in the Royal Navy. They haven't had any new ships for a while, have they? I don't think. Apart from those aircraft carriers, they've had new submarines and stuff, but nothing above, have they? I don't think.
Haven't they got a new HMS Belfast or something? Isn't that a new thing? They've got some new. They sort of start around the UK waters, don't they? They don't go much further than that.
That's what I was just going to come to. My next point was, can you go smaller? So I'm looking for the big stuff. What about the little stuff? Because I know you're bringing out the Vosper and things like that. Is there any like smaller boats you could do just to appease those guys?
There's loads of stuff that we could do. So there's quite a few things that are very similar to the lifeboat model design as well, but that the Navy use.
Type 31.
Type 31.
It's a very new one. Yeah.
The trouble is, every man and his dog in China are churning out 1/350th kits now of ships. The HMS Sheffield's just come out from, was it LT Hobby or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Your Hobby ordered a shitload in, and in 24 hours they were gone.
Yeah.
You can't compete with that.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, and like you said, the tooling is so expensive because there's so many sprues.
Well, they're actually massive as well. So you can't. The holes of those, you ideally need to do them in two halves, if you like two sections. So the size of the tool is massive, which means the mold machine you need to run it on, as you all know, Nigel, is absolutely colossal as well. So
then again, most of those newer frigates are basically square boxes anyway nowadays.
Yeah.
Much less sticky outy bits. So then again,
you keep on board. Dale, it's 10 o'clock, mate. Thank you so much for coming on to Airfix and Chill. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first time you've been on here on an evening. Normally we set up a daytime chat with you, but I personally am so looking forward to the Jag. Really am looking forward to it. And honestly, thanks for being so open and honest on here with what's happening.
No worries.
At the Airfix.
Hope I've still got a job tomorrow morning.
It's a
pleasure. It makes a difference instead of me wearing high vis jackets that stood at Telford talking to you guys. So no, pleasure. Thanks very much, and thanks for all the comments and questions. But if you do have product suggestions, bringing stuff back, then do email us at marketing@airfix.com, and make sure you go out and buy the Jaguar as well. We really need it. So thank you.
Brilliant, mate. Anyway, that's it from us. Thank you for joining us tonight on Airfix and Chill, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one and take care. Bye-bye.